Hi there, welcome to Jeep Roscoe. You join me today on a beautiful Wiley beach in Esperance in Western Australia. So obviously we need a bit of a catch-up. So when I set off, I had all these plans to film my trip across the Nullabor and do in-depth episodes about the border crossing. But as it turned out, the the never-ending COVID pandemic situation played a big part. So with South Australia opening their borders to New South Wales, Western Australia was due to close their borders to South Australia. So there was a bit of a mad rush in the end to get across the border into WA. And I didn't do the in-depth filming that I wanted to. So I put together this montage, and as you can see, my initial part of the trip took me to the York Peninsula, where I got a ferry across the Spencer Gulf to the Eyre Peninsula, which cut off about 2.5 to 3 hours off my trip. From there I headed north up to Kimba with the intention to go up to Lake Gairdner before going across the border. However, the weather then stepped in, and out of the following 7 days, 6 of them were absolutely wet. The access tracks up to Lake Gairdner were all closed because they were waterlogged, meaning that it was impossible to get up there, basically. So no other option. I went down the coast southwest to Striggy Bay on the Eyre Peninsula's west coast. From there, I travelled up with the intention to get into Ceduna. However, I stopped off to see Talia Caves, just south of Striggy Bay, and it was a very rickety road on the way down, and the negative terminal on the battery came loose, leaving Delilah to be completely dead. A little bit worried with very little signal. I eventually got hold of the RAA, that's the roadside service in South Australia, who were sending somebody towards me, but before they could have arrived, I identified the problem and was managed to fix it myself. No big dramas, but I was basically delayed in getting up the coast. So instead of going up to Ceduna, that night I spent at Striggy Bay, which was a lovely spot, by the way. The following day I did a quick pit stop in Ceduna on the way to the border, but it was Operation Get to Eucla, which was a good 600 kilometers away and a good 6 to 7 hour drive. Excuse the flies. So yeah, it was all a bit of a mad dash, really. And when I eventually got to Eucla that night, I was absolutely knackered. So we'll pick up the journey from there, and I hope you stick with us. In future, we'll do a lot more in-depth reviews on places as we go. But enjoy this first episode, and see you soon. There's the original Nullabor gas station that used to be here, where the Rock Legends one was built. Nullabor Roadhouse. It's a nice little mural on the wall showing us where we are. We are there. Look at this. It's the Great Australian Bight. This is just some random car park, just pulled off the Nullabor Way or the A1. Now there are a few trees around, so it's incorrectly named really, but hey, it's stuck. Now look at that. That's just fantastic. Certain times of the year you can see whales migrating across here. Unfortunately we're out of season, but it's still a fantastic spot. This is the Nullabor. We're just crossing the Nullabor. It's a bit shaky. I don't know if this is going to come out very good. Morning. Okay, so I'm just in Eucla. Spent last night in what is effectively a car park. Basically the first kind of roadhouse I got to after crossing the border into Eucla. I was absolutely knackered. It was a long day of driving, and got across the border okay, no problems. Had to chuck a few things away for quarantining that I didn't think, like I bought a sealed bag of coleslaw, dry coleslaw from Drake's in Seduna, but apparently it included beetroot, which wasn't allowed, so I had to chuck that. Other than that, I had to get rid of an onion. I think that was it. So very tired. Of course, I crossed the border last night, and on South Australian time it was approximately 8 p.m. and then crossed the border here, and it was 5 p.m. so very put out. So I went to bed at 7 o'clock last night, Western Australian time, whereas it would have been 10 o'clock South Australian time, and woke up this morning at 5 o'clock and the sun was up, feeling very, very confused as to what time it was, but yeah, hopefully things will improve a little bit. So yeah, we're in Western Australia. The weather's not brill. You can see it's cold and it's a bit wet, but hey, it's going to improve. Yesterday it was 41 degrees, so a little bit cooler today. Because it was raining most of last night, I couldn't put the solar panels out till early this morning, so the old generator you can hear behind me is now charging off the alternator, and hopefully we can get that back up and running, because the fridge is running off its own independent battery right now, because the lithium power station ran out last night. But you know, it's done well, so I can't complain. This is just because I forgot to plug it into the alternator most of yesterday. Anyhow, we're going to take it quite easy today. Just looking at the map here, seeing where I think I'll stop today, but to be honest, I've got plenty of time now. The major push was just to get across the border into South Australia, which is done. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I had a little bit of drama yesterday, trying to find my way to the head of the Bight. Google Maps took me down some dirt track, several twists and turns later. Long story short, I couldn't find my way back out. The signal was going, so I had no option but to follow the track that it said, until hopefully I come to the head of the Bight. Eventually I come, after doing a lot of off-roading, I could see some buildings in the distance, so I just headed for them. Got to a locked gate just outside the visitor centre for the head of the Bight. I had to go in and ask for them to let me in, only to be told that basically I should have been fined $5,000 because I've just crossed Aboriginal land. Now obviously I did see the one no trespassing sign as I got closer to the buildings, but by which stage I was quite panicking and just wanted to get to civilization, so I didn't really care. Thankfully I explained my situation and they let me off, but you know, I really started panicking for a while, because It was 41 degrees, didn't have any signal, didn't know where I was. So yeah, thanks Google. Since I started the Nullabor, not very typical for what you'd expect in Australia, but as you can see, it's quite, well, you can't actually see. It's quite a miserable day. So effectively, you know, what was supposed to be a very kind of lazy day for me, checking out little spots. Everywhere I've stopped to go and check out, the tracks have been closed because they've been too waterlogged. And so I'm effectively driving. I'm just coming up to a place called Gairdner, just left Biddy, and the next place after that is Balladonia, which is about 200 kilometers away. Now, I was supposed to reach there not today but tomorrow, but it now looks like I'm just going to drive to Balladonia tonight. So effectively I would have done the Nullabor in 2 days. As you can see behind me, this is the start of the longest straight stretch of road in the world, on the tail end of the Nullabor, or the western end. And as you can see, it's still raining. It's been raining all day, quite untypical for this part of Australia, but hey, it's been raining all day. And I'm just at Gairdner, the start of the strait. And today was going to be a very leisurely day for me, as I've said, but given there's nothing to do, all the places I wanted to look at today were closed because of bad weather, I'm just going to head on down to Balladonia, and hopefully it's somewhere decent there to stay. But yeah, quite famous. So this is the Balladonia Roadhouse. It's just at the end of the long straight, 90 kilometers straight. It's one of the many roadhouses along the Nullabor, which made travelling across the Nullabor more and more accessible. It's got this nice little tourist trips here, and on it talks about the Skylab's museum, which is inside. So let's go check it out. Got a little museum here, and part of the museum is dedicated to the crash of the Skylab, which was in the late 70s. I think it crashed in WA and across the Indian Ocean in 1979, and to this date is the only solo space station that was operated by the United States on its own. Basically, it was before the space shuttle, and so space shuttle couldn't get up to give it a booster, so the orbit decayed and finally it crash landed to Earth. And Balladonia had its moment of fame. The whole world media was focused on it at the time, and you had fortune hunters coming far and wide to find bits of scrap because it was highly valued. Now the rest of this little museum here is dedicated to people that pioneered across the roadhouses, the race that was across the Nullabor and around the whole of Australia. It also has a little dedication to the Afghans who helped settle the route across the Nullabor with the camels, although that little mannequin there has seen better days. This is one of the race cars, and we've also got a little bit about Indigenous history, evidence of humanoid life, prehistory. A bit of landed culture, a bit of the plants. This is an interesting little bit about the scat or poo of the animals, which all looks remarkably similar to me, apart from the emu, which is quite bigger, and the snakes, which is kind of a bit white. And then we've also got a little bit about the geology of Western Australia and the gold fields and what made it so unique. There's a geological map. Yeah, so we are currently, where are we? Around here. And later today we're going to be going up to Kalgoorlie, which is the gold fields, which is around here. And further on to the ghost town of Gwalia, which, as you may or may not know, is an ancient name for Wales. So obviously I've got to go there. Yeah. So yeah, cute little museum in the Balladonia Roadhouse.